Bill Ward, the change maker, is up next. So me and Bill met in Calgary when I was in Calgary speaking. Um, and I knew right away, just by his name, Bill Ward, the change maker, that that would mean he'd be a part of E2R. It had nothing else to do with anything else, but it's Bill Ward, the change maker. You know he wants to make change. So does E2R, and I had the great opportunity to meet him there. And then he spoke in Calgary, and he brought a whole bunch of people with him. Not only that, he's got a connection to Mike and Street Angel as well. Um, but the guy is genuine. He tells you exactly how it is. There's really no BS around with him, which is good. And that's how you get like some really solid recovery is you don't BS your way through it.
You know what? We got pressing down your tongue, and it's just like
You thank you for coming today to do this for us and take it away, Bill.
Awesome. You can hear me okay? Okay. Awesome. Thanks for having me, you guys. Thanks for putting on this event and doing what you do. It's a really beautiful thing. What your what your passion is, Jay, and the people who are on board with you and their passion. And I guess I'm on board with you and sharing my passion to some degree. Um, I looking back at that video that Brooke had played, and seeing the emotion in her being while she talked about that. And, that's exactly why we do this, right? That's exactly why we do this. And, there was a young guy just recently that I was pretty connected to and, trying to help him in the way that I can for last 6 or 8 months. Me and my dad do these talking circles for the Oxford House Foundation here in Calgary, and we go to these Indigenous homes and we get to meet these guys, right? And this guy had a slip, and it wasn't long before he wasn't here anymore. And that's how quick this stuff happens, right? And I know many, many people in my life that have passed away from drug and alcohol addiction. And I'm gonna say drug and alcohol addiction, but quote a piece of the literature of the program that saved my life is selfish self-centeredness that we believe is at the root of our troubles. We have to be rid of it or it kills us. We talk a lot here about the trauma and kind of getting over and dealing with trauma and letting things go. That's really it, right? Because we're drinking and drugging at a certain point because we want to numb that stuff out. Early in my drinking career, alcohol did a lot of good things. Drugs did a lot of good things. It allowed me, like Brooke said, to, get out of myself, connect. My first sexual experience was I was drunk and, I could kind of be a person that I wanted to be when I was drunk and high. And it gave me community, it gave me fellowship. And so I liked the effect that it produced. Later in my life, it produced a different effect. It started taking the edge off. Later in life, it started numbing me out. And then later at life, it just didn't work anymore. And a lot of people will get to that point where no matter what they're doing, whether it's gambling or shopping or, drinking or drugging or pornography or whatever it is, it won't work forever. And you become faced with yourself. The problem is a lot of people never know how to face themselves because they've never run into people like us. And that's kind of what Empower to Recover is about. That's kind of what I'm about. And that's kind of what the people I believe here that are pushing this out there to the world is about. Learning how to face yourself, going to the parts of within yourself that you can't go by yourself. And looking at, you know, there's a line that I love to say. It's like, what would you be like if you truly knew who you were? First of all, you got to know who you are. And that can be very humiliating and very painful because you look at the parts of yourself that aren't serving you and the parts of yourself that you don't like and the parts of yourself that other people might not like that you've tried to defend your whole life. But you have to look at yourself in a deep and meaningful sense. And a big part of that is looking how I hurt myself and how I hurt others. And then kind of growing through that to become who I was truly meant to be or who anyone is truly meant to be. And you played a clip at the beginning of or a little while back here on this online event of me at your other event speaking, and I truly believe what that clip was that you played, that most people I've ever worked with has never been able to be who they're truly meant to be, myself included, right? I grew up in a society that kind of told me who to be and what to be, right from the word go, right from school. And as I, kind of went through my journey of life, not having my mom and my dad around for those beginning years and not getting my needs met that I need as a young boy, and kind of seeing alcoholism in my family, and I developed a lot of anger, and that anger grew and it grew and it grew. And I'm First Nations, as you can see, and growing up in a predominantly white world and going to a Catholic school, it was pretty rough being a Native kid in this world. And I had to fight my way through. Like literally, I fought. But I built some good defense mechanisms, man. I got some respect out of that, seemingly respect. I got, I got women that wanted to be with me because of that anger or because of that violence. And I carried that most of my life. And when I was finally 22 years old, after rehabs, after almost killing a guy in a fight in his own home, um, you know, being in and out of jail at a young age, I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I knew alcohol and drugs weren't serving me. And I prayed hard to a God that I didn't care about. And I asked to not drink anymore. And by the grace of God, I'm 51 years old right now, and I haven't had a drop since I was 22 years old. But that doesn't mean to say that I was healed, because by no means was I healed because I put the drink or drug down. You know, I had to go through 15, 20 years of building a business and seeking my validation out of what you thought I was through the money and what I drove and my house and all of these other areas, which are just distraction from me to look within myself. But I didn't know any better. I didn't know any different. I was just doing what everyone else was doing. And everyone else is doing the same thing. Basically, what I was doing was lying to myself my whole life, validating my shitty behavior with other people's shitty behavior because everyone was doing it. And all along that way, I'm still doing drugs. I'm still smoking weed, still doing mushrooms and acid, and I'm still violent. I ended up building a pretty decent life from the outside, right? I built a nice company. I was making, by the end of it there, I was doing close to $3 million a year. But a lot of my motivation to do what I did in the business was because of my inferiority complex, my inability to love myself. So I needed to be validated from the things of what other people thought I was. And that was kind of what my business did. But it doesn't work either, right? At some point, I get crushed again. And I was. Tried some hard drugs. Next thing you know, hard drugs is my solution. And through that hard drug journey, I had 3 daughters and my wife at the time, this $1 million house and all these things. That became my new God. And eventually that doesn't work. And then I like to tell this story. As I burnt my life to the ground, as I destroyed my family ended up homeless, living in a crawl space of the nanny that we used to employ. She got citizenship while she worked for us. She went on her own. She started living in Canada. But by the time I burnt our lives down, my family was living in their crawl space in a 2-bedroom home in Riverbend. And I'm living in a trailer plugged into the power at my foreclosed property. And my life is hell. And I'm like broken. But I like to look at it like this. I'm sitting in the rubble of what my life was, smoldering coals around me going, who the fuck are you now? Who are you now, man? You're not a business owner. You don't drive that truck. You don't have that house. You're barely a father and you're no husband. And so I realized in these moments of the sheer pain that my whole identity was based on what other people thought I was. And a lot of me wanted to die. But there was a part of me that wanted to live. And luckily, my dad was in a recovery program and he took me to my first meeting. And from there, that light, that little light that I had, it started shining brighter and brighter. But I'll tell you, those early years of recovery were really, really hard. I always say it like this, you know, that first year recovery is pretty easy, man. And but if you don't have a good program to work in your second, third, and fourth year and a good fellowship around you and the ability to take personal inventory, because like I heard Winter say, when you put the drink, the drug, or whatever the distraction is down, the shit's coming up, man. It's coming up. And if you're not running a good type of program or lifestyle to deal with the shit when the shit comes up, the shit will deal with you. And I see it constantly. So what my journey has taught me is I have to go through pain. I have to look at myself. I have to serve to the best of my ability. And a lot of times in those early years, I didn't want to serve. I didn't want to do any altruism. I wanted, because I'm geared to serve my own self and to protect myself. But I did it because I didn't want to die. And then later I did it because it started making me feel good. And all I ever wanted on my recovery journey was to get my life back, my old life back, to get my career back, to make some money again and kind of get back on top in that way. But because I had helped so many people in those first 2 or 3 years, I did get my career back. I was the director of operations for a small corporation in Calgary. I'm sitting at my desk. I got full right to run this company however I want. But I had been working and helping other people for all this time too. Partly because I had to, then I wanted to, and then it changed my heart. It changed me on the inside. And I was sitting at my desk one day and I was going, something hit me. It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Do what? I don't want to work and making this company money. I don't want to focus my whole life on making money and building this. And then the fear that ran through me, because that's all I wanted, but I didn't want it anymore. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was so scared because I didn't know. But I had 3 years of building my relationship with Creator and helping people. And I knew through the practice of prayer and listening and following that guided intuition that I never followed before. I knew that I was going to be okay. And one day I was driving back to work and I had been praying on this issue because it was a big issue, man. I had child support payments, I had rent, I had all these payments. I had to make about $5,000 a month at the time. And for me to just quit wasn't an option. But then I pulled over my new Mustang that I was able to buy. I laid the seat back on the side of a road coming back from lunch. And my grandmother was my higher power for many years because I didn't like the word God. So I prayed to my grandma. She was passed away. And I asked her, I said, Grandma, I know that you know everything because you are all knowing and you watch over me. And you know that I don't want to do this career thing anymore. And I want to help alcoholics and addicts and people struggling with their trauma. But I don't know how to do that because I don't know where I'm going to make the money. And then, like you can hear my voice right now, I heard my grandma talk to me and she said, Billy, it doesn't matter if there's money involved. That's what you do. You go help people. And then 2 weeks after that, I gave my notice to the company and I quit that job. And I have just prayed and meditated and manifested the life that I live today. My whole business platform, Billwardlife, my podcast, my everything I do has come through prayer and meditation. I've learned that I don't make a move until there's no doubt in that decision. And because of that, I've gotten what I've needed always. I stay close to my creator. I perform his work well. He gives me what I need. And it's not always what I want. But through not getting what I want, I go to the deepest parts within myself and I see what it is that's blocking me off. And so my anger over the years, like, dudes, I barely get angry anymore. I'm not going to say God's restored me fully with no anger because I know he'll show me who's the boss. My lust, that was a problem in those early years because my disease still wants out. So it's going to try to get out in any way. One of the biggest ways is through relationships and women and sex and this kind of thing, or finance or whatever. But I did a lot of work there. And, I think I'm considered a really safe man in the world of recovery, and other women can talk to me without issue because I've done a lot of work on myself with my creator. So I'll finish with this. I live my best life today. And like, this is going to sound a little arrogant. I don't struggle a lot, man. I don't struggle that much, hardly, because I know nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I believe that to my core. And I can't change other people or any situation, but I can influence things and I can help people be inspired to change. And that's my job today. I built my whole life around service. And because I built my whole life around service and I work for God and the people, God and the people have started to work for me. And the way that I live my life is common sense has thus become uncommon sense. The way that I think life should have been, it's actually the opposite. So now today I dedicate my life to service, and I know that God's going to provide what I need. If I honestly stay close to him, I perform his work well. So for me to be on this journey with Empowered to Recover, to work parallel with you guys, to bring the same message, sometimes separate, sometimes together, that's what we do. It's about love, it's about forgiveness, and it's about passion. And just to reiterate what Jay said, if you have a dream or you have a goal, go for it, man. Just bring God with you. And I'm a guy who didn't care about God. But without God, I am not a good person. I'm the best version of myself with God running my life. And I can do anything today. And I do anything. Part of me building my own platform was because I'm very controversial. And sometimes people don't want me to speak on things because I'll tell the truth and people don't want to hear the truth. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to do my own platform. Just like Jay, kind of, right? So anyway, I love you all. I thank you all for putting on this event. I love being a part of what you're doing. I feel in my heart at this moment in my life, it's right. And I want to help you guys carry that message and inspire people. And I know First Nations people really struggle, and that's where a lot of my focus is today. So thank you for having me. I love you all, and let's kick ass on the rest of today. Thank you, Jay.
That's why I got in contact with him. He's me. He's just Indigenous and I'm white. So, so at the end of the day, he tells it how it is, right? And like he says, people don't want to hear the truth. I mean, I've been at this game for almost 16 years today. Actually, it is 16 years. It is 16 years today. And a lot of people didn't want to hear me. So I just said, the heck with it. I'm doing it all. I'm just gonna build. And the cool thing about building is those that want to come with you are going to come with you. And you really, really get some amazing, amazing, amazing people that come with you when you do that, right? Because they start believing. And when you start seeing people believe and you start seeing people change and you start seeing people do things, like I've watched this platform. Brooke and I have watched this platform. I'll just talk about 2023. 2022 was a gong show. But 2023, just watching the platform in 2023 grow with 32 different speakers across Canada come to the event, some of which never spoke on a stage before, got up there and laid their heart on the line. You can't beat that. There's nothing better than the rawness and the vulnerability and the love, the kindness, the compassion of just telling one's story.